there's scarcity. Prices is all about scarcity of goods,
Okay. Okay.
right? Supply and demand and
Mm,
scarcity.
mm,
There's not an infinite amount of resources. There's a finite amount of any resource that we talk about.
mm,
So then when people need that resource, the demand is high and the supply is limited, then the prices of those goods are going to go up,
mm.
right? So when they said we have a semiconductor problem, that meant that we could not produce cars at the level that we wanted to be able to, or at the level of demand. So
Okay.
then that means that the prices of all of the cars that are already on the market goes up because
Mm,
there's still a high demand for cars. And then when you add on the fact of immigration, for example, led to an even higher demand in these products, then the price just goes up astronomically. But now, fast forward to today, car companies are having a real problem selling cars. There are no buyers.
that's true.
And that's in nearly every market right now. There are no buyers. There are
Mm,
sellers. We talk about the housing market. There are sellers. People, the reason why the prices are going down, excuse me, the prices are going down in the housing market is because when you put your house on the market last year at $300,000, no one bought it. So then you had to change the price, $280,000. No one bought. 250, no one's buying. 200. People are taking their houses off the market because there are no buyers. Because
mm.
again, we are having a liquidity crisis. People don't have cash. And the problem with our financial institution is that any financial crises that we have, we've been able to just print the money. Well, we're not able to just print the money and solve the problems the way we did. And if they print too much money, then it actually, that in itself causes its own set of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So the feds are having to be very careful about the different tools that they have used in the past to get us out of recessions and financial crises. These tools are not working today.
Mm. When I'm noticing that while these things are happening, like we have a bubble, and I put it in the chat for you all to see that we have housing. Mr. Lattimore spoke of real estate, bonds, stocks, shadow banking, rare earth minerals, metals, precious metals, gold and silver, automobile. All these things are collapsing. We had a bubble. Everything's being burst right now. It's collapsing. What I'm noticing though, at the same time this is happening, I see President Trump doing certain things. I want to know if you can speak on this, Mr. Lattimore. I saw President Trump withdraw us from 66 international organizations. I
Mhm.
saw him create the Board of Peace, and he said that will replace the United Nations, and 22 countries have joined. I see him taking critical steps, it looks like, to put us in a better place. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, a few things. One, we cannot afford all of these institutions, right? Because most of these global institutions that we're a part of, we finance the majority of them.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right. Then also, we're entering a new era where the ways of the old world do not work anymore. And so Trump is pulling all of the things that you just mentioned. He's recreating new systems and new organizations because the old organizations have failed to produce the results that they
Mm,
were promised. So the United Nations, for example,
mm-hmm.
the United Nations has not stopped any wars, right? So it's great on
Oh,
paper, but in practice, it doesn't actually hold its weight. So then, if we're financing the United Nations and it doesn't actually stop any wars or prevent wars,
mhm.
then what's our point in financing it? And what's the money being
Mm.
used for?
It's interesting because, right, what is our money being used for? Two things I want to say. It's interesting because when the Department of Government Efficiency was created under Trump and Elon Musk, they found out that United States aid wasn't really funding these emerging markets or these international, but third world countries. That they were actually pushing woke agendas to these third world countries, like gender stuff and sexual behaviors and stuff like that. The money, only what 1% of the money was being earmarked for those nations. The 99% of money was filling the pockets of the elites.
Exactly. And go ahead.
Oh, and the second thing I wanted to bring up, I want you to remember that. The second thing is, now that Trump is removing us from 66 organizations, funny that they use the number 6, but they're saying he's abandoning the world. That's what mainstream media is saying. He's abandoning the world. He's making the United States vulnerable. But they found out that participating in these world organizations wasn't helping us, wasn't helping these nations, and the elites were stealing the money.
Well, it was helping our agenda for the time. But again, you said they were funding a bunch of woke programs. That's what America wanted, to be able to export our ideology. Right? You talk about America funding the United Nations was about us exporting democracy, the concept, the theory of democracy. Any country that takes our money has to do what we say. And so it's been beneficial to America up until now. But this is we're experiencing the collapse of the empire. All right. So America cannot finance all of these things, and it no longer benefits America the way it did. Because what benefited America and for what reasons in the past is not the same as where we are today.
And you see this is published by the White House. President Trump ratifies the Board of Peace in a historic ceremony, opening path to hope and dignity. They're saying for Gazans, but it's interesting because they're now saying that, he created a Board of Peace in order to rectify what was going on in Gaza. But we knew about Project Sandman, which was an agreement between 209 nations to stop trading with the United States dollar and collapse the Federal Reserve central banking system. And they all agreed to world peace. We found out about that in 2017. But they're using whatever's happened in Gaza as the reason for creating the Board of Peace. Why do they do things like that? Like make up excuses for why they're doing things?
To be able to rationalize to the general public what's going on, and for the people to be able to understand and consume the information. Right? You don't want to create too big of a scare to the public. They don't. Right? Those in power. They want things to be able to run smoothly, even if there's a transition in, whether it's a transition in power or transition in finances, the financial systems. They want for there to be a smooth transition and not too many hiccups. So they'll create the narrative, whatever narrative works for them at the time. Like you mentioned, for example, the situation in Gaza. That's the reason why they're talking about this peace organization that he's created. The situation with ICE, they're using that as the reason that we're having another government shutdown.
That's weird. Yes, they are.
The citizens can accept it.
Oh, I see.
Right? If you say, well, we're having another government shutdown because we had the same problems as the last time we had to shut down, people are like, well, why did we open? Why is it shut? What's going on? And then the protests will not be the protests will be leaderless. They want to be able to put the leaders to the protest and be able to guide everything into how they want it to go. Right, this ice storm that we just had, it froze the nation, but it's getting everybody prepared for the potential government shutdown because the financial system is frozen. Right, we're having a whole lot of problems, but you can't just come out and say for example, you look at the stock market. If Fox News went on air and said, you know what, the stock market is having a problem. What does that do? That creates a run on the stocks. People will immediately pull their money out, even if there wasn't a recession that was going to come. They will be the creator and the cause of the recession because people will panic.
I
So they
see.
don't want people to panic. So they give these narratives. And that's why at the last show I mentioned that we are living in the Truman Show.
Yes.
It's only at the end of the movie that Truman actually realized that everything was a show and it was all a stage. It's only after the collapse that the general public will understand that the system has in fact collapsed. And all the way up until that point, they will consider everybody that speaks on the collapse as a conspiracy theorist. All right. That's the mainstream's way of decrediting any critical thinkers. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're full of it. You know, I don't know where you must have been listening to Peter Schiff. Right. He's doom and gloom. You must be one of those guys. But until it crashes, the system will never say that it's on its way to crashing.
Right. I'm gonna get keep going. I want you to talk about more Peter Schiff. You've been listening to Peter Schiff for a while. I believe he's an economist, but talk about some of his ideologies and why you decided to listen to Peter Schiff, who sounds like an Austrian economist versus a Keynesian economist. But what principles does Peter Schiff have that you espouse?
I listened to Peter Schiff because he talked about the global financial crisis that occurred in 2008. He foresaw it. And when I was watching at the time in 2006, 2007, he was talking that there's a bubble in the housing market. He was being told that he was incorrect. He even got kicked off of a lot of shows because he was the doom and gloom guy. But he was just giving his assessment of the markets. Now, again, mainstream wants for everybody to consistently invest in the markets. So they're going to always say, oh, things are good, right? It's very rare an occasion that you will hear any mainstream person talk about there being problems in the financial or the stock market until it occurs. And then they talk about what happened, but they generally don't tell you that there's a bear market on its way. Peter Schiff was one of the predicted the financial global financial crisis of 2008, and he also was encouraging people to invest in gold at that time in 2008. And it's only been up until last year where other financial advisors have actually been promoting gold and silver, and he's been doing this for decades.
You have shared so much, and if I could recap, I would say we talked about the housing market, we talked about real estate, rare earth minerals, gold and silver, the automobile industry. You talked about the banking. What was that new phenomenon? I never heard shadow banking.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things are seemingly attached to the United States dollar.
Yes.
And all of this is attached to the United States Incorporated, that empire that was a huge empire. But
Yes.
Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. We sang it in church. Babylon is falling. On one hand, they're saying it's doom and gloom, but for us, the soul tribe, the human race, this is a time to rejoice.
When we see the deflation, then this is the best time to buy. All right. When you talk about the 1929 stock market crash, prices went straight to the bottom. Now, a lot of people lost their investment to 1. Now they're like 300 to 1. So
Wow.
the CEOs are still paying minimum wage. So that is one of the things that I'm expecting will change, because all of the money that